The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check for anything that runs on a schedule that attackers could potentially make use of. There are actually a lot of different things that run on a schedule that are less commonly used. We don't necessarily have the time to go and check all of them, so I'm going to check the two most commonly used ones, and that's cron and systemd timers. So those are the two probably most common ways of running things on a schedule. There are also at jobs along with cron jobs that run at a specific time, so we can check those as well. So first, let's take a look at cron. The files associated with cron are actually located in two different places. So there are system-wide cron files. That's going to be etc crontab, and any additional files in the etc-cron.d directory. Then there are also user-specific cron jobs, and those are going to be located usually in var spool cron. We can also check out var spool at for at jobs, right? So if I take a look at cron tab, I'm going to go nano etc cron tab. I'm going to take a look at what's here. I'm going to, again, see if there are any weird directories in path, but there aren't. And I'm going to see if there's anything weird here, but everything seems to be normal. Keep in mind that Red Team can actually add things to the end of these lines. Like they could string commands together by adding a semicolon and then adding an additional command. So be sure not just to, if you're going to open this file in an editor like I am, don't just look at the beginning of the line, but also check the end of the line too, or make sure that there's nothing in the full line, right? But this just looks pretty normal. I'm going through this kind of fast. The other place I can check is in etc-cron.d. You see there are quite a few files here that I can take a look at. I'm not actually going to go ahead and take a look at all of them, but I'll take a look at Anacron, for example, and we'll see if there's anything weird here. Doesn't look like there's anything weird. I'm looking for maybe some custom binary that's being run here, or maybe some custom script that doesn't come built in with Linux that's being run here. Or maybe there's like an IP tables command that's going to disable your firewall with IP tables-f, looking for things like that. Then we can check, assuming I went through all the files here. I did not, but let's just assume I did. Then I can go to user-specific cron jobs and var spool cron, if I could spell cron. And if we go to cron tabs and list what's there, cron tab is not found, probably because it's CD, right? Cron tabs, there we go. List what's there. There doesn't seem to be anything there, so there's nothing for us to really take a look at there. For example, when you run cron tab-e to edit cron jobs, it gets added to that var spool cron directory. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly check out at jobs. So that's var spool at usually. It looks like that directory doesn't even exist. So my guess is that there are no at jobs or anything like that. There's also Anacron, which functions similarly to cron. So all those things that I checked with cron, I could also check for Anacron. So I could go nano etc Anacron tab, right? I could check this, see if there's anything weird here. Now, there are a lot of different files to look at, and as you can see, this is just barely going through these is already taking me a long time. So a trick that I like to use in cyber defense competitions is instead of worrying about all this, I like to disable cron completely. So I can say system control. I'll first disable cron, and that's going to make sure that it doesn't start on boot. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just stop cron from running. So I'll say system control stop cron. In some distros of Linux, it may be cron D. In Debian, it happens to be cron. So there we go. The one thing I want to make extra sure of is that when I try to stop or disable the cron service, it is in fact stopped. So Red Team could, knowing that a strategy we have is to stop cron, Red Team could try to use something else to restart cron periodically. And so I'm going to maybe later on down the competition, I'm going to come back and just double check and make sure cron hasn't been restarted by anything and that cron is still stopped. If it's stopped, it should say inactive dead here, which it in fact does. So we stopped the cron service. And now all of those cron jobs that we would have to worry about before, now we don't really have to worry about them anymore. The next thing I'm going to take a look at is systemd timers. Systemd timers basically allow you to run systemd services, but on a schedule, just like with cron. So they function similarly to cron in that sense. I can view systemd timers with system control list timers. The nice thing about this list timers command is it will also tell me how often these timers run. So for example, when the next time that timer is going to run is. So that tells me that gives me an idea of which ones I need to look at and which ones I perhaps don't need to look at. So I'm going to need to look at any systemd timer that is going to run in the time of the competition. So let's say the competition is 8 hours long, right? I'm going to look through all of these up to this one here that says 7 hours left. For the one that has 10 hours left, I don't even need to look at it because it's not going to run during the competition time. And I can go ahead and I can take a look at what the names of each of these are. I'm using my arrow keys to go left and right here. So for example, this first timer here, a little unusual. It's called Pikachu.timer. So let's take a closer look at Pikachu.timer. You'll notice, I'm going to run this one more time here. You'll notice it also tells me, so along with that timer, it tells me what service it activates. So in this case, it's going to activate the Pikachu service. So that timer is going to activate the Pikachu service. So I'm going to take a look at that Pikachu service. I'm going to say system control status Pikachu.service. That's going to tell me where Pikachu.service is located on my machine. In this case, it's in etc systemd system Pikachu.service, or I should say where the file for that service is located, right? So I'm going to go ahead and edit etc systemd system Pikachu.service. There we go. And it looks like what this is doing is it's just running IP tables and clearing all our firewall rules. So we don't want that, obviously. So we're probably going to want to get rid of this. So again, I caution you, maybe don't fully get rid of this. Who knows if it's something that actually needs to be there. And so I'm going to make a backup of it. I'm going to say copy Pikachu, or I need the full path here. So I'm going to go to etc systemd system. I'm going to copy Pikachu.service, and I'll just call it Pikachu.service.back. The most important thing here is we change the extension so that it ends with something that's not .service, so that systemd doesn't actually recognize it as a service, right? The other thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to take a look at so once I've done this, I'm going to remove that Pikachu service file altogether. And if I ever needed to restore it, I could always copy it back, right? And then restart the service. But the other thing I'm going to take a look at is that timer. So if I do system control status Pikachu.timer, and we'll see where this is located. So it looks like this is located in etc systemd system Pikachu.timer. So if I go to, I can search the contents or look at the contents, etc systemd system Pikachu.timer, and it looks like it's just starting the Pikachu service every 5 minutes. So I can once again make a copy of this. So I'll actually use the move command, so then I don't have to remove it afterwards. I'm just going to move it over, and I'm going to rename it to Pikachu.timer.back here. So I'll say Pikachu.timer is Pikachu.timer.back. And now if I do system control daemon reload, again, I made changes to configuration files, or I removed configuration files. So I'm going to have to reload that daemon. And now if I do system control list timers, hopefully that Pikachu timer that we saw before, you can see it's now gone. It's no longer there. So I'm going to want to repeat the same process with any of these other timers that are going to run in the competition time. Just taking a look at them, seeing if they're supposed to be there or if they aren't supposed to be there. And if they aren't supposed to be there, I can just get rid of them, making sure that I leave a copy somewhere in case I ever need to restore them, in case I accidentally broke my machine, right?